I was regarded at Harvard Business School as being a communist.
Ken is fun, and Ken is a great friend to Barbie.
There's no empathy measure on most people's performance reviews. But if you don't have that, I think it's almost impossible to be an excellent marketer.
The brand manager is the general manager of the brand.
I was just this fat unit, you know what I mean, in a suit, and it was clear that I was not the same as the others.
Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 30 of the WFA's Better Marketing series. And as you can see, I'm back in London, and today I've got the huge privilege of talking to Jane Wakely, who's a year and a bit into being the global CMO of PepsiCo after 21 years of being the lead marketeer at the Mars company. And she's also recently been appointed as Deputy President of the WFA. So we're in for an absolute treat. So hello, Jane. Welcome. Great to have you here. Can I start with my favourite question, which is I'm always fascinated by how people got into marketing in the first place. So can you take us way back when? I'm sure it wasn't that long ago.
Yes, only yesterday. Well, actually, it's a good one because, in all honesty, I graduated from high school or secondary school, as it's known in the UK, with a selection of subjects that I'd enjoyed but hadn't found my absolute passion, and I chose to do business at university. And the main reason I chose to do that was because it gave me the chance to try a lot of subjects I'd heard of but didn't really know what they involved, like psychology, organizational development, end-to-end value chain engineering. They all sounded fascinating. and so I did business, and marketing was one of those modules. And but actually, the theory of marketing still didn't grab me. It was not until I did internships in both finance and marketing that I really got the bug. And actually, when I understood that marketing is all about people and understanding people, and understanding psychology, sociology, what makes people tick, I really, that's what lit my passion.
That's fantastic. Where were your internships, Jane? Where was your marketing one?
Well, I did two internships. The first was with Unilever, which was an incredible place to learn and have my first experience of marketing on brands such as Sunsilk and Harmony, which only yesterday, as we were just saying, are amazing brands. But back when I worked on them, they were super exciting and leading brands in their categories. And then my second internship was actually in finance at Procter & Gamble. And I thoroughly enjoyed both. And really, those experiences formed my vision of not only what I wanted to do with my career, but actually both organizations really struck me with their people first approach, their values base. And I think both taught me very valuable lessons about leadership, but also culture, and how important finding the right culture for you is in defining your career of the future. So I feel very privileged to have had that experience.
Oh, that's fantastic. And actually, I know you're shade over a year and a half into this role, I think, but it was after 21 years at Mars, which is a phenomenally good innings. So that must have been a great, I know a lot of ex-Mars people, they love the culture, but, was it heartbreaking to leave?
Oh my goodness. I think no one was more surprised than me the day I resigned, honestly. Mars was an incredible career journey, life journey, and I'm so grateful to have had those experiences, and I'm still in contact and friends with many of the amazing people I've met through the years. And honestly, I wasn't looking to leave Mars. What drew me to this opportunity at PepsiCo, though, was a very, very unique situation. PepsiCo, as you know, is a wonderful company with great brands, great people. But what really fired me up about PepsiCo is that it's a listed company that reaches billions of people every day that was every bit as ambitious on sustainability, on impact on people and community. And I saw a huge opportunity to, find that sweet spot between the brands, the marketing, the consumer proposition, and where the company was clearly wanting to head in terms of its contribution to people and planet as well as performance. And it just grabbed me. It grabbed me as an opportunity, and I'm super enjoying the opportunity and the challenge.
Fantastic. And I think if I'm right, you're their first ever global CMO. So I think that brings another level of excitement, but challenge too. But when I was doing my homework here, that puts you in charge of over 60 brands globally, and features one of my favorites from Spain, El Valle. I love their gazpacho.
Do you know what? That is a complete jewel, isn't it? Buy it at Waitrose if you're in the UK, but it's an incredible brand. Yeah, look, it's actually Chief Consumer and Marketing Officer. So that was the second big thing which really attracted me, the ability to effect transformation across the consumer demand side of the organization. So it's the first time that all of the consumer demand functions have been brought together under one. And so it's marketing, it's insights. We have an incredible in-house design team that do design thinking, design innovation. We have R&D as well, and a function called commercialization that takes all of the sort of consumer dreams and turns it into reality, providing that interface between demand and supply. So actually, I have the privilege of running the consumer leadership group, which combines all those functions. And what I'm super excited about is we're really using that end-to-end view of how we better serve the billions of people we touch every day with our products across our portfolio, our marketing, and how we go to demand, how we go to market, how we create demand for our great brands for the future.
And in this role, there's always a polemic about global jobs around, are you first a manager and second a marketeer, which is a polemic I find interesting because I think you have to do both. But what's your view? I mean, are you in the role of management and leading teams more than doing the marketing stuff?
Well, that's an interesting question. Look, I have, I think in any of these big roles, you are less and less defined on what you bring individually as a functional person, more and more by your leadership and how you develop and deliver teams and deliver and develop talent. So in that aspect, I would say, the job is very much about helping to create a vision for the future, and then ensuring that the teams and our talent has what they need to be wildly successful in delivering that vision. So yeah. Now, having said that, you can't take the marketing out of the girl, right? So I love to be involved in creative processes, but what I try and do, and what I try and lead my teams to do as a senior leader, you need to be involved at the front end of a process, setting up for success. Disaster is if you get involved or too involved at the back end of the process, because that's where, the team need full empowerment to go. So on big creative processes where we're really got very ambitious programs, we spend quite a lot of time thinking about, have we got the human-centric job to be done crafted properly? Are we setting the teams up with the right diversity of talent, the right diversity of partnership to deliver extraordinary results? And that's certainly where I try to spend most of my time in the creative process.
That's fantastic. Again, a good way to lead into, I think when you arrived in a PepsiCo that was already making some strong commitments in the DEI space. And can you talk a little bit about that? And maybe I was going to say compare and contrast with Mars, but that's unfair. Don't do that.
Look, what I would say is, I said it partly, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, I've both worked for. I've also worked for Mars, and now I work for PepsiCo. All four companies are incredible. What my experience of all four has been is they're all very values-driven companies that try to do the right thing, and that, whose people put a lot of effort into the how, not just the what. And honestly, I'm proud to work for PepsiCo. PepsiCo has diversity and inclusion at the heart of our aspirations. And I think all four companies are judged by their actions not just their words. And I'm proud to have a diverse team where we're really, working on harnessing that diversity for better performance.
And can you perhaps give us a concrete example of where you've seen that turn into great output?
Yeah, sure. Look, I've just come out of a fantastic leadership development program. I've just done it before this program, where we've got 10 individual associates from different functions, from different countries, different cultures, who are put together in a flat structure and given a project that really matters to the company. It's a leadership development course, but actually I've just been blown away. They've just practiced their final presentation with me, which they're going to give to the executive team tomorrow. And I'm super excited about what they're going to share, because it just shows you, I can't tell you much about the project actually, because it's top secret, but this, what's brilliant is this is a business problem, a consumer problem to solve that our traditional teams have not been able to crack. But by putting together diverse talent to think differently, to work differently on the problem, they've unlocked some magical insights, but most importantly, some prototypes that actually show us a path to how we could develop a real business proposition. So I think that way of working, putting together teams with different ways of thinking, different contexts, is a great way to unlock the most difficult to solve business problems.
Yeah, and perhaps can we also touch on, this is back to your intern in the finance department.
Yes.
One of the challenges, we the WFA have observed is actually putting the financial advantage to being a leader in DEI, and to demonstrate that there is competitive advantage in doing that as well. I don't think that's a PepsiCo issue because of the commitment, but how have you wrestled with that, and how do you keep the numbers behind the initiatives?
I think there's so much industry evidence that diversity brings better performance. I think in certainly all the global companies I've worked for, that it's not in debate that it drives performance. It's just about how you cultivate a diverse and, importantly, an inclusive culture, so that really people can bring their full selves to work and deliver extraordinary things. So that would be my short answer. But going back to your question on finance, it's interesting. I am a fundamental believer that as a marketeer, you need to harness the science of growth, which is numbers, repeated patterns of behaviors, the real tangible business delivery of marketing, as well as the art of brand building. And it's bringing those two things together that I think creates extraordinary growth and potential for the future. And what I would say is, some marketeers exclusively focus on the creative, more insight territory. I think to be a real growth architect, which is what marketing requires these days, you've got to harness both. And when you're in the boardroom, you've got to speak the language of the boardroom. You've got to bring evidence base to what your activity has driven. And I think for many of our marketeers, upskilling in how to harness financials, how to understand financials, how to translate what you're doing into tangible, measurable results is just so important right through the marketing value chain. And so that's something that certainly is fundamental to my philosophy of what marketing needs to deliver, and we try to upskill ourselves on every day.
And presumably, you're going to be data rich, as in extremely data rich, with customer responsibility as well. And being able to use that data must help this journey of being really accountable for what you're doing.
Yeah, so my part of the organization is consumer, and then my counterpart, Ram Krishna, is responsible for the customer. And what we do together is we try to bring the data together. And I think for any marketeer, whether you work for a small startup company that's very digitally facing, or whether you work for a big CPG company or in a service industry, harnessing the data that you can have access to, shaping the data strategy that's going to enable your growth, enable you to understand the people you serve, deeply understand what delights them, deeply understand their needs gaps, their pain points that you could perhaps as an industry overcome, that's critical to any marketeer. And, navigating and understanding data, I think, is a core capability that every marketeer needs to master.
But I mean, it's amazing because you have been in all of the, let's call them the universities of marketing, as multinationals. You won't find many great marketeers around the world who haven't worked for one of those companies. I mean, how different is PepsiCo from where you've been before? And do you find the food and snacks business to be very different?
Look, I think I've worked in a broad set of categories. So my very first category at Procter & Gamble was healthcare. I worked on the Vicks brand. I was then in skincare. I worked in color cosmetics. I've worked in the confectionery industry. I've worked in the food industry, and I've worked in pet care. And what I'd say is every single category has insights, consumer behaviors, human behaviors that are different. But actually, there are some principles that I think help you navigate between categories. If you start with a human-centric approach to growth, if you really understand consumer behavior, understand the pain points you're trying to solve, if you understand the category dynamics, understanding your category, understanding the key levers for growth in that category, if you can master that, and really get to grips with what are the most important levers for growth, what are the levers you can pull most effectively to step change your category contribution to people's lives, then those principles can be applied across category. The exact sort of laws of the category or category nuances you have to get into. But if you can take a principle approach to both the science of growth and the art of brand building, I think the principles can be reapplied across many categories, and that can help form and build your toolkit as a functional marketeer.
That's absolutely fantastic answer. Listen, I'm very conscious of the tightness of your time, but couple more questions if we do have time. A couple of months ago, we were all delighted to see you step up to become the deputy president of the WFA, and I guess it's for me, look at this. As I've observed the WFA for many a long year, I've always been looking for the WFA to get itself more diverse and visibly so. And there are some fabulous women now at the top of the organisation. But can you talk a little bit about your experience as a female senior leader, and over time maybe there have been changes? I mean, that's a big question, I know, but it'd be daft not to get something from you on it.
Well, look, thank you for the question. I mean, in all honesty, I've always wanted to be identified as a great leader versus a female leader, if I'm honest. Having said that, look, I think, as we talked earlier, diversity and diverse teams, whether it's gender, cultural, are very, very important because diversity brings diversity of thought. And if we can, harness that, we know it lifts performance. So, I'm thrilled to join the WFA. What I love about the WFA is, honestly, every time I attend a conference, a meeting, a convention around a particular issue, what I love is learning from actually the diversity of experience in the group. And I think the very, very special thing the WFA can bring and does bring is on the issues that matter most to marketeers, to advertisers, we can actually learn from each other on our experience, and actually through what I would call uncommon collaboration, through working together to understand how we can lift our game as an industry, how we can increase our impact, how we can learn from each other. I think it's a great source of both inspiration and learning for all of us. So that's why I've got a lot out of being involved in the WFA over the last couple of decades, and very happy to give something back at this stage.
No, it's fantastic, and everybody's delighted that you've joined. So thank you for doing that, and also thank you to PepsiCo for being early supporters of the Planet Pledge.
Of course, yes.
And love to just get your quick view there on how marketing can help in the climate challenge. Easier to ask than it is to answer.
Yeah, look, I think it's quite simple how marketing can help. I think what we're great at is making things, helping story do, making things relevant to the people we serve. And I think what we know from the recent Kantar study is there's a massive values action gap for many the consumers we serve around the world. So consumers, I think it's over 95% of consumers say they want to make a difference on for the planet, but actually struggle to act in a simple way to do so, not because they don't want to, but because they're unclear, or they're not sure which brand choice or product choice is right to make. I think there's a great duty on marketeers to both use the innovation capability that we have, but also the branding capability to bring transparency, to bring clarity on choices, and also to bring relevance on those choices. And I'm very passionate about that, and we clearly need to lift our game. That values action gap is on us. And I know that many of us feel a deep sense of responsibility to try and help close that gap. And for PepsiCo, we're working hard on positive choices and making more visible those positive choices, and to really, help consumers understand, how to still have great enjoyment, irresistible taste and flavor, but to make positive choices for people and planet. And we're very committed to that journey.
And then two last ones. We can't really, in this day and age, talk about marketing without asking you about AI and what PepsiCo's thinking is and what you've seen and what you're doing.
So I think, look, AI is yet another technological advance which is going to enable us as humans in many, many ways. But there's also many risks and learnings that we need to navigate. So we need to navigate it ethically, and we need to navigate it thoughtfully. So like any other technology that we've seen, the first thing I would say is we're going to put people at the heart of it. We're going to think about the jobs to be done, how we can use technology at the service of either our associates or at the service of the consumers we serve. But the second thing is we really want to ensure that the risks on privacy, the risks on data privacy, for example, on bias, that we are very thoughtful about ensuring that we mitigate those risks. And so, this is one that we are, we have many programs that use machine learning. We have many, we integrate technology and digital advances very quickly, but we will be very thoughtful about how we do that to mitigate those risks as we learn.
I don't doubt. And finally, apart from being time challenged, what is your single biggest challenge of the moment?
My single biggest challenge at the moment. That's a good one. Well, I think it is time, isn't it? And actually, it is time. So I know you joked on that, but I think for all of us, there's so much to do, and we can be busy being busy. But actually, I certainly find I know the months where I get it right, the months where I get it wrong. It's all about focus on the areas we can make the biggest difference. We can give the biggest gifts, because there's loads of things that you can slightly improve, but making big changes to big things, that's what really moves the needle. And I think ruthlessly focusing on the few things where you can make a big difference, that's the biggest game changers for our teams.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Jane, thank you so much for your very valuable time and for the great answers. Look forward to seeing you very soon. Take the best of care.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the time. Bye-bye.
Well, what another great conversation. There's always so much to learn from all of these conversations. And Jane, thank you for your time, and thank you for adding to our canon. We don't yet know who the lucky beneficiary of episode 31 is going to be, but I can tell you it'll be all about better marketing. Look forward to seeing you then. Take care.